We'll call to order the regular meeting of the Solvang City Council for January 26, 2015. Mrs. Rhea, will you please call the roll?
Council members Jameson,
Here.
Deuce,
Here.
Skit,
Here.
Zimmerman,
Here.
and Mayor Richardson.
Here, and Councilman Jameson will lead us in the pledge.
This is going to be my yearly lecture on how to say the Pledge of Allegiance. There is no comma behind nation. It's one nation under God, a phrase. So let's try to do it right tonight, okay? All righty, here we go. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You are wonderful students. Thank you.
I have to comment on it. I do the pledge all over the county, and it changes wherever I go. Sometimes the comma's there, sometimes it's not. And I try to hold no comma, and I'm the only lone voice. So, but she's right. City manager's report.
I have no report for tonight.
Okay.
She says report.
Next is public communications, written or verbal. At this time, please direct comments to the City Council regarding council consent calendar items or matters not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the council. Speakers limited to 5 minutes. I have a special speaker slip from Tracy and SCVB.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff, and guests. I'm Tracy Farhad, Executive Director of the Solvang Conference and Visitors Bureau, and with me presenting our mid-year report tonight is our Director of Digital Media, Brenda Ball. And we are here on behalf of our Board of Directors. In our audience is our Vice President, Linda Johansson, and our honorary member, Dr. Kenneth Harwood, and all of our Board of Directors. So we will be providing copies of this report for you for your convenience and enjoyment afterwards. First and foremost, we just want to thank you for investing in Solvang's tourism and marketing through the CVB. Our mission includes providing a steady, sustainable, economic lifestyle for Solvang residents through her #1 industry, so we are at your service. We can't do it, and we don't do it alone. Our gratitude to these partners that are presented here and many more that make promoting Solvang so very successful. And a special mangatak to our local businesses that donate to our collaborative efforts year-round. Now, the Solvang CVB does influence results. This is from a study we did in 2012. Solvang now supports over 1.5 million visitors annually, with over 98 million in spending, directly local. The CVB works diligently to inspire travel here, both through quality, not quantity of visitor, and both domestically and abroad. Here's our wonderful visitor center. Thank you. It's your visitor center. We operate this 7 days a week, 9 to 5, even on holidays. Look for an engaging article coming from the San Ynez Valley News on Thursday about our visitor center manager, Mr. Dean Klitgard. He also does a lot of tours for us year-round. But together, our ambassadors serve over 100,000 eager visitors through their doors annually. Now, this is our newest and latest publication. The CVB produces several publications, but none is more as effective and visual than the Solvang Visitor's Guide. This year, we released our first pocket-size Visitor's Guide, highlighting all there is to see, do, and taste in Solvang. And many thanks to our advertising partners, because they're the ones who make this magazine so popular and free for the asking. The guides are sent to California welcome centers, visitor centers. They're at airports, AAA offices, local chambers, trade shows, sent to the media, and for visitor fulfillment all year round. And now I'd like to pass the mic over to Brenda, who will tell you about our website and our digital media marketing.
Thank you very much, Tracy, and thank you, City Council members. It's a pleasure to serve you. I totally enjoy the digital media and putting the word out to on the World Wide Web. about Solvang, and we are attempting here to look at our latest visitor's guide. And I tested this beforehand, and I don't know if it will cooperate. If it doesn't, we will escape
That's all
back,
right.
and we will, but you can look up at the top here. Here we go. Our Solvang Visitor Guide. This is the digital copy. Of course, you can get a paper copy, but our digital copy is online. It's generally not this slow, it's just the process in the
Brad,
city
you don't
hall.
still have dial-up here, do you? Just kidding.
Okay, let's see. We're almost there. Here we go. Okay, our guide opens up. People can print out an individual page. They can clip a page and put it in Pinterest. They can click on the links. You can look at it and refer to it over and over. I'm skipping a few pages. My apologies for the delay here. That's the bad thing about having broadband and high speed, is that you get so impatient. But that's as far as I'll go. There's our story, Velkommen til Solvang. And we'll escape out of that and we'll go back to our presentation. I'm very proud to say that Solvang is the #1 most visited tourism website in the San Ynez Valley. We surpassed the Shumash Casino website in August of this year, and we're continuing to climb in the numbers, and we hope to stay that way. We've had over 16% growth rate over last year. We definitely are the #1 tourism-related website. We have over 35,000 new users per month. These are people who have not been to our website, new people that we're reaching. And an interesting tidbit is that 33% of the people coming to the website are coming from either mobile or a tablet device. Our calendar of events is also the most visited calendar of events in the Valley. We had over 800,000 visits to our calendar of events on solvangusa.com. Our top 5 most visited pages are both calendar of events and then followed by where to stay, shopping, and what to do. And there's the countries that are the top countries. 92% of our visitors to our website come from the United States. And I put this here. This is a dashboard in the back. We use a number of dashboards for our social media, as it's way too time-consuming to log into Facebook and do one post, or log into Google Plus or Instagram or so forth. So we use dashboards. We use TweetDeck. We use Hootsuite, Buffer. There's a number of them out there. They allow us to schedule posts. They allow us to put them in multiple places, multiple times of the day. And it also allows several other huge benefits. It allows us to watch what other people are saying. If people are coming to Solvang, it gives us an opportunity to say, especially if they've asked about wine tasting, we can comment on that, or we can direct them certain places. Or if they're trying to decide, should they wine taste in Santa Barbara or here, we can direct them here, or shopping. It's a grand opportunity to reach out to people who are interested in Solvang or the Central Coast of California. And as you notice in my chart, we've had a good growth rate in all of the categories. I don't expect to see that going down. Social media is just the nature of it. It's a huge growth potential. Also, the other benefit of the dashboards allows us to measure what we're doing. Tracy likes to use the phrase, we don't want to throw spaghetti on the wall. We want to know what we're doing, and we want to be able to prove what we're doing. So that gives us the opportunity to do that. And then Solvang has it's a delightful place, and almost all of the comments that we receive are positive. And I pulled out a few there. You can look at them, but the one I pulled out, she said she had her daughter take a picture in the shoe when she was a baby, and now she's 44. She has precious memories. We hear that quite often. Almost every comment or testimonial in the social media about Solvang is positive. That's a really nice thing to do. Email marketing, we have over 40,000 that we send emails to monthly, sometimes twice a month. For example, in December, we sent a couple of gift guides out. These are 40,000 people who have asked for our information. So they've designated it a definite interest in us. We have a 15% open rate, 9% click-through rate. We also monthly send out a B2B newsletter to the locals. These are the businesses and the governmental agencies. And by the way, if you're not receiving it and you would like to receive it, my card is on the table over here. If you'll send me an email, we'll make sure you get a copy of that. Back to Tracy. Thank you very much.
The city and the CVB contracted this past year to provide a focus group study. We had done a visitor intercept study in 2012, and now it was to find out about the perceptions. So through Lauren Schlau Consulting and along with the city of Solvang and our partners, the VSYV, Visit the San Ynez Valley, we had Northern and Southern California markets, Sunnyvale and San Fernando Valley. We did 3 groups each for 90 minutes. We held interviews, we videotaped, and we got their perceptions. Those who were aware of and not quite aware of have been here. Strongest takeaways, and of course that's not supposed to be an eye chart for those in the back of the room, was that visitors want us to show them. It's a show me time. Provide more to do valley-wide for an extended stay and develop our nightlife. But they did say make sure we stay quaint and small and scaled to size. We asked for feedback on our advertising campaigns, and we redirected our creative to this year's artwork. So that's the next slide. So this is our fun, so memorable, so Solvang. These are some of our traditional print and digital advertising medium and also radio. And in fact, I just heard this afternoon that in one of our AAA publications that since switching the artwork, we had doubled the amount of inquiries than we had before. So it's always good to listen and then do something about it when you can. So these are placements, and they include prominent coverage in all of these publications. We also continue to utilize Southern California's drive time through radio for special events. We do a lot of regional marketing, so I want to thank you again, City of Solvang, providing the matching grant for our regional marketing for the 3rd straight year. We're grateful to the VSYV for matching those funds to date and for doubling our exposure for Solvang. Our alliance, as we've called ourselves for a couple years, showed strong results in both print and digital advertising programs through December, with over 4 million impressions. Our collaboration has launched branding of our region and more than doubled Solvang's reach. I want to personally thank Linda Johansson and Christine Forsyth, who are in the room today. They've served on that committee for the last 2 years, and their expertise has been quite invaluable. And I want to also say that the VSYV will now take you on the next leg of the journey during their presentation tonight. But give you a little heads up, this year we are now partners with not only the VSYV, but also the Buellton CVB and Santa Barbara Vintners as this whole new partnership unfolds. You'll be seeing more of Solvang in a prominent role. And again, thank you, VSYV, for taking the lead and gathering more participation, because a high tide does float all boats. Our public relations, we rely heavily, in addition to our advertising effort and marketing programs, on good PR. Our local publicist, Laura Kath, delivers top-notch results by maintaining first-rate buzz. These are some of the publications. I love the titles they come up with. For instance, 10 Best Small Towns for the Holidays, 14 Ways to Tour the World Without Leaving California. Solvang was number 2. That was picked up by 10 other articles and sent out. And the Associated Press syndicated was picked up by 30 different venues. So this is how important it is to keep getting the word out. Good buzz. One of the articles we also got was in our top markets that Brenda showed you earlier. This was a great spread we got in one of Mexico's premier lifestyle magazines with over 250,000 readership, plus mobile, and featured Solvang along with the 10-page spread on California. This was part of a Visit California media tour when we host media and visitors. That paid off really big for us. Now, what paid off even bigger, and I let you know about this in the fall, was IFTWA. That's how we say it, although there's an extra W in there. But the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association came for a media trip for 3 days here. 10 journalists, they generated over 21 articles and 4 radio interviews in just 2 months. So thanks to our area businesses that hosted this prolific group of happy journalists. We do a lot of conference development. We actively pitch to bring them here, both sporting events, conferences, and meetings to Solvang. Here were 3 top-notch awareness generators this year. The Wine Bloggers Conference, we hosted 24 out of the 400 that was brought to town. I'm part of a mystery bus tour. The article we got out of that one said, Mystery Bus Tour, My Ode to Solvang. So we like that. Also, the CEO Forum with 72 attendees. And we partnered with Buellton's VCB, Visit Santa Barbara, and the Shumash Casino on that one. And new this year, the Tour de Pink Ride with over 100 attendees, and they want to make this an annual event through Solvang. Our international PR and sales is part of our team with Atlantic Link over in Denmark. We continue to receive outstanding representation throughout Scandinavia through that connection and our PR firm. Media Clips found over 6.5 million readers with an ad equivalency of over 200,000. That's just in the past 6 months. They're actively keeping our connection firmly rooted in Danish soil. Now we're heavy into art and film. You've heard us talking about this for the past year. During Danish Days, we were excited about having Eric Dowdle come to town and premiere his PBS Painting the Town with Eric Dowdle. That painting is for sale and available if somebody would like to. But it's a 30-minute show, should be airing this spring, and it premiered during Danish Days. Now the prints, puzzles, and paintings are in Costco's, Walmart's, and on your Southern California TVs this spring. We also created some special events for locals and visitors this year. The CVB promoted and put on a rousing lineup of holiday events for Eulafest celebrations. We brought a record number of guests, including a holiday wine and beer walk survey, which showed an impressive almost 80% of attendee respondents staying overnight at hotels. The survey also noted most purchased wine and went shopping while here, so many thanks to these tasting rooms and the businesses who were working their holiday magic. Now, speaking of which, working holiday magic, see the picture on the bottom left. I want to thank Fred Lockerman and his team at Parks and Rec, because he made this fabulous Santa's house. It was so popular that we didn't even take it down, or Fred didn't, because I kept taking pictures. We had over 1,200 Santa visits, and so we look forward to bringing them back again in 2015. And last but not least, it was the 10th anniversary of Sideways. So we helped do a little fundraiser, partnered with a lot of local agencies in the county, and we gave the Festival Theater a little extra money for their 40th anniversary. And last but not least, in community relations, to round out our community spirit, the CVB helped secure Solvang as a Special Olympics World Games host town, and we now actively participate on the local organizing committee with city staff. And when Solvang visitors needed a little extra prodding on saving our water, we reached out to local hotels with door-to-door education, and these tent cards were provided per room, along with the VSYV and Shelby Sim. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to promote Solvang as a world-class destination. And from all of us at the Solvang CVB and the Visitor Center, please follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.
Very well done, Tracy.
Thank you.
Ed would like to speak.
One
Say something
comment
before you leave.
on your new brochure.
Yes.
Next year on the map, color code the locations, because you just use red dots for everything. And people, it would be nice to have red dots for stores, green dots for restaurants, maybe blue dots for hotels, so people could take a quick look. Because I was taking a look at, because there's some of the things that you had listed in there. You just said the name of the store, and you had people have absolutely no idea what the store is. They don't know if it's a restaurant type. So
Good suggestion. Thank you.
Is there any other comments? I just want to compliment you on your excellent work for the year. It's just fantastically well done, and we're proud of having you as our advertising agency.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next is Carrie McKinnon, followed by Fred Colville.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I am Carrie McKinnon, and I am here tonight to give you the Solvang Branch Library report for the October through December 2014 quarter. We have a new format for the report that I give you, and there's a few more pages than usual, but it's because I've printed our statistics separately, so I won't bore you with reading off the statistics. You can read them yourself later. I do want you to know a little bit about our programs and our programming, and to let you know that for the past quarter, we had several community partners. One was the Santa Ynez Valley Natural History Society, which brought in 4 lectures. Fishes of the Pacific Coast, water harvesting in the home landscape, California grasslands, and Santa Ynez River steelhead. The Pacific Conservatory Touring Company, along with the Chumash Casino, brought us a play, Tomas and the Library Lady. And we want to especially thank the Solvang Rec Department for providing use of the Veterans Hall for that. And we were packed with most of Solvang School, and another couple of schools came in to see that. The Friends of the Library continue to support us in providing numerous family and adult events, including Music Together, Storytime Crafts, craft programs for school-age and teens, and the monthly Investors Roundtable, which is an adult investors group. And our volunteer-run programs include adult computer classes and Tail Wagon Tutors, which is the fabulous Read to a Dog program, which has taken off at the library. We have a lot of visitors at the library, but they're not all just local. We had visitors from Florida, South Carolina, New York, Montana, Michigan, Utah, and England in to use our internet computers. And we may have had many from other countries because we don't track those who come in and use their own devices. Those are just the ones that were using our computers. So if they came in to use our free Wi-Fi, great, but we don't know where they were from. Let's see. We are about to start our annual community reading program. Last year, you might remember, it was The Things They Carried. This year it is Orange is the New Black. That's our selected book. And I'm still reading my copy, but I'm told it's not as lurid as the TV series. And addresses perhaps a few more serious questions. We will hopefully have a panel discussion at our branch on that. And we partner with UCSB on this, and they will be bringing in the author, Piper Kernan, for a free to the public talk in April. And that'll be down at UCSB. So not only do we have programs in the library, but there are so many offerings, as you probably already know, on our website. And I want to make sure that you know about 2 new ones. Not only can you download books, audios, music, we have an IndieFlix free movie streaming program, but some of the new offerings are a PBS video collection, and you can stream that absolutely free. You don't have to wait to check those out. You just sign in with your library card and download it and watch it. And we have a new language learning program, which I'm very excited about. It's called Pronunciator. And there are literally hundreds of languages on this. And you sign up going onto the library website, and you sign in using your library card. And you can choose your language. You can choose the level at which you want to learn. You can say, well, I'm going to take a business trip to Denmark, and I want to, improve my Danish. So they'll give you a set of courses that every time you log in, it tracks your progress. You could say, well, I just want enough to, begin to learn to read to a child. Anyway, you choose your language course with this, and it's all totally free to library card members. So it's really an exciting thing. So, and that's all on our website, sbplibrary.org. And that's really all. I just want to say that and this is perhaps more of a personal comment than a library report comment, that it's so important that we have a library in Solvang, and it's so important that you support literacy and the life of the mind and the spirit of inquiry in our town, and I thank you for that. So that's my report.
Well, from this report, it looks like you guys are really doing some great beneficial work for us. You know, it really is. The PBS video collection alone is worth the price of a library card. You know?
Which is,
It's a
Free.
great thing, yeah.
thank you.
Fred Colville.
City Council members, Mayor, Fred Koval, resident of Solvang. I gave part of my pitch tonight to ID1 last week, and it was well received. The new members there are going to form some kind of a ratepayers committee, and they're going to entertain various ideas. So what has happened to the city recently, last couple of months? New wells. The cost of new wells, probably about $1 million so far. As I mentioned several times in the past, the city has spent $60+ million for water since 1985. And now we're faced with re-upping the state water project. And I don't know, I thought I heard 30 years. I'm not sure. When we thought maybe it was all going to be over in 2022 and 2035, paid off. Not so, it's going to continue. And it'll be over $3 million a year. Can and will serve is run off the radar, the process to do it something that's meaningful, and I don't understand why. We need to think about the future for this valley, from Buellton East all the way to the mountains. What does that mean? We can no longer afford to have fiefdoms. The mutual water companies, Yanacita, Woodstock, other mutual water companies, Baseline, Happy Canyon Road area, and Solvang. We will not be able to make it in the future. Not through your fault, but over the years, the folks that have sat in your seats have just not done the job for our little city of about 5,000 people. We need to think about turning this over to the professionals, the people that are in the business to do one thing, and that's to deliver up water, and deliver it up efficiently and cost effectively. We need to think about gathering together and turn everything over to ID number 1. They need to expand their boundaries to cover all of these fiefdoms. What does that mean for Solvang? That means for Solvang, you turn over the whole water system, the contracts, the EIRs, the MOUs, all of the interaction with the State Water Resources Control Board. Give it to ID number 1. They know how to do it right. And tip them well. That means you give it to them and you give them something else in addition. You might even think about the same thing for your wastewater treatment plant and sewer system. Turn that over to the professionals also. Do what you know what to do best, and focus on that only. And that is tourism. You really do that well. And that's what you need to think about.
Thank you, Fred. CJ?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Since I'm here for other reasons, I have had a subject I've wanted to share with you for some time. Over the last 5 years of this drought event, the ALSAL has seen the departure of over 40 pine trees. Pine trees are not indigenous to the valley. When they are vulnerable or threatened, they become prey for pine canker, for pine beetle, etc. Prior to moving up here to the valley, I lived in Claremont, close to Upland and up Mount Baldy and the Arrowhead area. Pine trees present a threat when they are left dead. I am not here to point the fingers at you. I'm here to ask that you might share your knowledge with your fire department and perhaps encourage a program. As you come down Highway 246 from the high school, you will find numerous examples of pine trees that have passed. As you go up and down Alamo Pintado and in other areas, pine trees that have already expired still stand and present a threat. And it would be good to contemplate a program, since I can't think of a single pine tree that is threatened on your responsibility or your watch. However, you are the municipal entity and perhaps could assist in getting the word out to those who do that they present a real threat and something to consider. One sidelight to that, however, is also another indigenous plant that has survived very effectively by its capacity to deep root is poison oak. And it is particularly pernicious in the valley, and I would have ignored it if I hadn't gotten it. And it ticked me off. However, it has blossomed in a way where its ability to identify has become particularly difficult for the nearsighted and rapidly aging like myself, because it is just as dangerous when there are no leaves on it. In fact, I found actually worse. So some education to the public might be beneficial for those two areas as they present a threat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CJ. That great information, and it's a cautionary note. It was an example of a couple of Fridays ago when we had the Christmas tree burn. We saw how fast a pine tree does go up when it's ignited. I have no other speaker slip. Does anyone else wish to come forward this time and speak? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. For council comments, would you like to start, Mrs. Jamison?
Well, Mr. Koval had called me earlier today about Cannon well sers and to put some of his concerns to rest in a way. They are being a form type thing, and the process is being investigated by city staff, and hopefully it will be coming back to us in the near future for our recommendations. I also noticed that on our things to be reviewed in the near future are our protocols and our policies, and I'd like to do that sooner rather than later, like maybe the next meeting if it's not too crowded. And the third thing is a happy thing, Special Olympics. Carol went down today and she had probably a very long discussion with hopefully the delegate from, I can't say it yet, the country where we're going to have our visitors in July. And she will be bringing back a lot of good information, and we need volunteers. And there's the lady sitting right over there in the white shirt that you need to talk to, Sue. Give a call to the chamber office. She'll take your name. We don't need you for 1,000 hours. We need you for hours here and there. And we need to welcome these people with open arms because they're coming a long way. They've worked hard to gain this recognition to be the champions of their country, and they're coming here to share with us. So any help that you can all give, any volunteer time you have, please do so. Thank you.
Mr. Deuce?
No comments or requests.
Mr. Skip?
Thank you, Mayor Richardson. First of all, I want to compliment CJ on his discussion of the pine trees that are going down. Matter of fact, I've take a look, several months ago, we did take some dead ones down that were dying ones that were in the Memorial Hall parking lot. And I'm keeping an eye out, and when I see one, if it's on city property, I am reporting it to the city staff. Second one, in regards to your poison oak, it is getting nasty out there, and I always remember going up Alisal Road to the Nahawi Park on the ranch property out there in the autumn when it's turning brilliant red. It's really gorgeous going along that road, but you want to make sure you stay in your car and don't get out, because you're right, that stuff is awful. The only other thing I want to make a comment on is that former mayor and city council person Willie Campbell had some medical problems here in the last couple of weeks, but she is home and she is doing better. And she's always shows up here and keeps a close eye on what we're doing, and when she thinks we need to have a talking to, she comes. And it's really nice to hear, but she is getting better, and we should see her, she should be up and around very shortly. And that's it.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Yeah, I just want to give thanks for all the great information that was given today in the comment period. And I'm a victim of poison oak. I went hiking up Gaviota, and I got it pretty bad, and I didn't even realize how I got it.
Wow.
So it is bad. Thank you.
Now, I have no comments. The approval of the agenda as presented, I'm going to ask to swap items 6 and 7 for Mr. Skitt's benefit. He's going to recuse himself on item 6. There's no sense in having him wait around. Is there any objection?
What about 6? What are we doing? 6 and 7?
The water update would move
Water
before
update
the
and
the
the
BID.
bid. Just swap
Oh,
those.
okay.
No problem? Okay. The council minutes of January the 12th, is there any corrections, deletions, or additions to those minutes? If not, can I have a motion to accept?
I just have an addition. The football championship game is going to be held on January 11th, 2016, so I'd prefer that we not have our meeting that night. Thank you very much. It is, I think it is the second Monday again. So if we can manage to do it on a Tuesday, that would be wonderful.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Pass 5-0. The consent agenda, Mrs. Rio.
Consent agenda item 5A, approval of pre-issues and warrant registers dated January 26, 2015. 5B, recognize and accept the generous monetary donations and construction of Sunny Beach sand volleyball courts at Sunnyfields Park from the San Ynez Valley Youth Recreation. 5C, approve the Alisal Bridge private irrigation pipeline agreement between the City of Solvang and Alisal Ranch and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. 5D, accept the fiscal year 2014-2015 pavement and drainage improvement project and direct the city manager to execute and record the notice of completion. 5E, award of construction agreement San Ynez Valley Transit Security Lighting and Bus Stop Improvement Project. 1 is to award a construction agreement with J&T Engineering and Construction in the amount of $189,965 and authorize execution of the agreement by the mayor. 2 is to approve a budget appropriation revision. 3 is to authorize the city manager to execute any change orders if within contingency amount of $20,000. 5F, approve an amendment to the professional services agreement with Bengal Engineering in the amount of $28,000 for Alisal Bridge seismic retrofit project. 5G, receive and file Santa Barbara County Fire Department report for fourth quarter of 2014, and that concludes the consent agenda.
Does anyone wish to remove any item for consideration or discussion?
For discussion, B, C, and F, because I think they're kind of
B and F?
C and F.
Okay.
And then E, I just have a question where those lights are going to go.
On D?
E.
E.
E. And D, I think most of us are within 500 feet of any of the improvements. Is that okay that we vote on this?
This is just the notice of completion of the project. It's not
It's
the
done.
award. Yeah.
So when we awarded it, though, should we have all voted on it? Because we didn't have a map of where all like we have now, that
Well, this
shows.
particular roads gets really complicated, and this was basically, when it's going to serve a large enough segment of the population that it qualifies as significant, then everybody's qualified. So this annual project is pretty much always constructed in such a way as to affect that significant a portion of the population.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like to discuss B?
B, I just think we need to write them a big thank you letter in gold letters for doing this. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm glad that Fred stuck with it and worked with them to put in the volleyball courts at Sunnyfields Park.
Well, you know, I think we owe a debt of gratitude to Fred particularly, but also to Todd Rogers and his contribution to the Valley with his skills and his sport, and also to the Valley Youth Group that is going to supply the manpower and the money to get it accomplished. And I for one welcome the chance to maintain such an item, to maintain such a facility when it's completed. And we do owe a hearty thank you to those folks. And if somebody could get together and write a nice thank you letter to those organizations, it would be really worthwhile, I think.
I'm just concerned about one thing about it, Fred, and that's cats.
Yeah, cat's right.
Okay, it's just gonna be a giant litter box, but I'm sure that your people will take care of it. Mountain lions, oh dear. Bobcats.
And then you wanted to mention item F?
Well, C and F kind of go together in that we are approving an irrigation pipeline that's going underneath Alisal Bridge, but at the same time, we are doing a retrofit on that same bridge. And I just want to make sure that everybody's in alignment and working together and not stepping ahead or whatever.
They're well aware of the work that's going to be going on.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any comments or wish to put any of the items?
And I have E.
I thought that was done.
No, E.
E, okay.
Lights.
Yeah, Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, but the security lighting will be in our lot back here that we store the buses at in the evening. That's where the security lighting is in that project.
Okay. And how are we doing with the out light bulbs that are around town in the street lights that we own?
We are contacting PG&E as they are reported, and so PG&E gets on them typically within a couple of weeks.
Okay, but those are on the street. What about those that are in our parking lots? Those aren't
Ones
theirs?
that they maintain, we report. The one that you're talking about at Solvang Park, we're looking for an electrician to assess the transformer in that.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
That's it. Any other comments on this items?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on B. Once again, we see the hand of the youth recreation, formerly known as the Elks, and this has been going on for decades here in the Valley. So just great thanks, a lot of thanks to that great group, and they do have their annual fundraiser coming up, starting first part of May, and culminating with the big event Friday before Memorial Day. So everybody, make sure you get down there and support them in all their events.
With that, can I have a motion accepting the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Rio, will you call the roll, please? Or even thirded.
Councilmember Skit,
Yes.
Deuce,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
and Mayor Richardson.
Yes, and that's with the pass with a 5-0. On to the regular agenda item number 7, Mrs. Rio.
Water supply update.
Staff report.
Okay, if you can just give me 1 minute. Good evening, Mayor Richardson, council members, and members of the community. My name is Matt Vanderlinden. I'm your Public Works Director and City Engineer, and I'm giving the report for our water supply update. I'd like to start off by talking about our 2015 water supply projection. So the pie chart here shows graphically some of the things I'm going to be discussing now. The state water allocation for 2015 has recently been increased to 15%, or 225 acre feet. Again, that's for 2015. Also, as a result of maximizing well operations over the last year and cutbacks by Solvang water customers, our carryover of state water from 2014 into 2015 far exceeded projections and is 439 acre feet. That includes the carryover of the supplemental water that we purchased this last year. These two figures are significantly improved over what was projected just a few months ago. The San Ynez River Water Conservation District estimates that water rights releases during 2015 will occur for only approximately 90 days during July, August, and September of 2015. What this means is that wells 3 and 7A will be able to only produce approximately 120 acre feet for 2015, while water is actually flowing down the San Ynez River from those releases. It is projected that wells 4 and 21, our existing upland wells, will be able to produce approximately 250 acre feet during 2015. We also plan to have 1 or possibly 2 new upland wells in service by August 2015. Unfortunately, based on the lower than hoped capacity of these wells, it is estimated that 2 of the wells could produce a combined capacity of approximately 100 acre feet during the last 5 months of 2015. However, based on our overall improved water supply situation, we are projecting we will only need to purchase water from ID1 during the annual November shutdown of the state water system. In every November, the state water system is shut down for routine maintenance. And it's during that time period that we typically take water from ID1 and open up our connections with ID1. So we are projecting to need only 67 acre feet from ID1 in November 2015, resulting in significant reduction in supplemental water purchase costs for the year 2015. This results in a projected shortfall for 2015 of 319 acre feet, or 21% of our projected 2015 demand, which is the projected 2015 demand is 1,524 acre feet. This shortfall will be made up with purchase of supplemental water, and I'll discuss that more in just a minute. Conservation and cutbacks by Solvang water customers throughout 2015 of 21% will reduce the amount of supplemental water that must be purchased and allow any unused supplemental water to be carried over from 2015 into 2016. And this is really important because we're always having to plan multiple years ahead for our water supply. At this time, it does not appear that Stage 3 drought restrictions will need to be implemented in 2015. However, because the city's water supply situation is tenuous, it is recommended that Stage 2 drought regulations remain in effect throughout 2015. Please note that the figures presented assume no major failure of any city well. So if you can imagine, if a motor or pump burn out, or we have electrical problems, which those things happen from time to time, sometimes it can take as long as 2 to 3 weeks to get the well back into service, and that's quite a bit of water that we're not able to produce during that time period. So this pie chart reflects those figures that I've mentioned. And regarding our supplemental water purchase, as mentioned back in November, CCWA has initiated its supplemental water purchase program for 2015, and staff has indicated to CCWA and to ID1 that Solvang is interested in participating in the program, and our estimate of need is approximately 700 acre feet for 2015. So note that the cost of ID1 water is approximately $2,400 per acre foot. So in the past, purchase of outside supplemental water has resulted in significant cost savings versus purchasing the supplemental water from ID1. Solvang's purchase of outside supplemental water has also benefited ID1 by placing less demand on their system during a time of regulatory-induced water supply shortage. That's related to the Chromium 6, the new Chromium 6 regulations. So any supplemental water that is purchased and not used in 2015 will provide Solvang with valuable carryover water for 2016. So our deficit is 319 acre feet, and we're planning to purchase the 700 acre feet, but that is also, the purpose of that is so that we can have some carryover water going forward into 2016. But I did want to mention that if we have good rainfall over the next few months, then we could cut back the amount of supplemental water that we purchase. So also presented in the staff report is a summary of our Upland Wells project, of the current status. Basically, that project initially included drilling and casing 4 wells. After the second well turned out to be a very poor well, after the second well that we drilled was a very poor well, the City Council authorized the staff to proceed with a 5th drilling and casing a 5th well, which is the well at the north end of Sunnyfields Park. So we have now completed drilling and casing all 5 wells, and we have pump tested and gotten water quality results for the first 3. So we're still in the process of pump testing the new well at the north end of Sunnyfields Park. We refer to that well now as well 23. And as soon as they finish the pump testing on that, they'll be taking water quality samples and sending that to the lab. Also, as soon as they finish the pump testing on that, they'll move the pump test equipment over to the middle well that we've just completed on Friday in Sunnyfields Park. And they'll do the pump testing on that and also take water quality samples from that. So at this point, one of the main concerns has been the presence of Chromium 6, or the possible presence of Chromium 6. And so far, with the three wells that have been water quality tested, we're well below the new regulatory limit of 10 parts per billion, and at least for those first 3. And we'll be reporting back to you once we get the water quality results on the last 2 wells. I also wanted to mention, or to remind everyone, that back on October 13th, 2014, the City Council awarded a engineering services contract to Corolla Engineers to complete the state permitting and design of the pumping equipment and wellhead piping for our new wells. So what they're actually doing is doing the design for the what we call the HCA Park South well. So that's the southerly well in the Hans Christian Andersen Park. And they're doing all the design work for that and the permitting and everything for that well. But as mentioned before, what our plan is to, when we go out to bid on that project, is to include the HCA middle well as an alternate bid item. So the base bid for the project would be to construct the improvements just for the south well. The alternate bid would be to construct the improvements for the south well and the middle well. And once we get those prices, the City Council can choose to award a contract for just doing improvements at one or if the bids come in real favorably, you could choose to do the improvements at two of the wells at the same time. So, also just as a reminder, regarding well 22, which is the existing well, what's sometimes referred to as the Creekside well, and our new well 23. Well 22, and an existing city upland well, as mentioned, is located along the west side of Alamo Pintado Creek in the Creekside residential subdivision. This well has a capacity of approximately 350 to 400 gallons per minute, but is not in use now due to periodic water quality problems with high iron, manganese, and hydrogen sulfide. Staff did a preliminary study was performed about a year ago, looking at the possibility of constructing a well at the north end of Sunnyfields Park, which has now been done, and manifolding that well to well 22, and adding a single wellhead treatment facility for combined capacity of approximately 700 gallons per minute to treat water from both wells. And this was discussed back in November at the at one of our city council meetings. And at that time is when the city council directed staff to proceed with the well at the north end of Sunnyfields Park. And the cost of the piping, the wellhead improvements, and wellhead treatment is estimated at approximately $3.5 million. And staff intends to propose the well 22 and 23 wellhead treatment project in the city's 10-year capital improvement program, scheduled for 3 or 4 years from now. Also, the city had entered into some water exchanges a few years back. One of them was for 45 acre feet with Dudley Ridge Water District and 102 acre feet with the Palmdale Water District. And the intent was to exchange that water when we had abundant supplies during wet years, when we had more than we needed, and then during dry years have that returned. But unfortunately, this drought has been so severe, these agencies have not been able to return the water to us, and it does not look as though they'll be able to return the water to us in 2015, unfortunately. Then I wanted to just mention about our water conservation program. We've just recently finished our toilet rebate program. That ended on December 31st, and under that program, we had 21 high flow toilets were replaced with modern low flow toilets. We also kicked off our landscape rebate program on October 1st, and have already issued 6 landscape rebates under that program in just a few short months. Also in the staff report, a table is provided identifying the amount of conservation or reduction in demand from our residents, our customers, for each month during the year 2014. And we had an average conservation based on the last 11 months of 14% reduction. And so with that, staff is soliciting any additional direction that the city council might like to give us at this time. And that
Is there any
concludes my
questions of the
report.
staff report?
No.
Go ahead.
You are shocking tonight.
It wasn't me.
He's a little shocking, that's okay.
Yeah. On the water purchase, do we know any more than we did? If it is available again, or?
Oh, yeah, let me elaborate on that. So, the CCWA, which is the Central Coast Water Authority, they have basically identified 2 primary possible water purchases, which in this case, the deals would actually be exchanges. One of them is with the San Bernardino Water District, which turns out to be not a very favorable plan. And the other one is the Antelope Valley and East Kern Water District. And that's the more favorable of the 2 that the city is pursuing entering into. And with that Antelope Valley East Kern Water District exchange, any participant would pay $500 per acre foot for any acre foot of water we received, and then and it would be also a 1-to-1 exchange. So we would pay $500 for the water, and then within a 10-year period, we'd have to basically return the quantity of water that we took. And
Okay.
so kind of the theory on that is we have a 10-year window of time to return that water. And what we would do is have to make a water purchase in a year with abundant supplies where the cost of the water is low, and then repay the water back to Antelope Valley East Kern Water District once we purchase that low-cost water. So.
Okay, then the second question is on the exchange water. And could we exchange that water for the water that we're taking from the Antelope Valley East Kern?
Well, that's
Or
interesting.
you want to, or is that kind of like passing around counterfeit money?
Well, you know, the tricky part is there's multiple different agencies involved. However, the water that we do have stored right now, the 102 acre feet that we have stored, that we exchanged with Palmdale, they can't return it right now, but it's actually stored in the same water bank as the Antelope Valley East Kern Water District's water resides. So we have this 10-year window where we can basically pay back the water 1-for-1 exchange. During one of those years, when Palmdale Water District is able to return the water, they can do basically a paper credit and credit Antelope Valley East Kern with that 102 acre feet. So that'll basically pay off part of our debt to repay the water. So, but it can only be done when Palmdale is able to, has the sufficient water supply resources so that they could actually pay us back.
And so there was on both these exchanges that we were involved with, Dudley Ridge and Palmdale. Was there any time limit at all, or just whenever they were able to?
Both of those have time limits, and unfortunately, I think with the Palmdale one, they're really close to running out of time. I don't know the exact year, I'm sorry, off the top of my head, but both of them do have time limits, and but I don't believe there's any provision in there for any kind of penalty or whatever if they're not able to pay it back. I think when CCWA made the arrangements for these exchanges before, it wasn't ever envisioned that they wouldn't be able to pay the water back within that time period. So, so that's, you know, that's kind of where we stand on that.
Was that a 1-to-1 exchange?
Well, the Dudley Ridge one was done several years ago, and that was done before I started here. I'm not exactly sure if that was, yeah. So, yeah, I believe those were both 1-to-1. I know for the Palmdale exchange, the circumstances were that the state water that we had stored in the San Luis Reservoir, during a really wet year, the San Luis Reservoir was going to spill, and we would lose what we had stored in there as carryover water. And so in order not to lose all of it, CCWA quickly made arrangements with Palmdale Water District, and they basically moved the water down the state water system, or some of it, and before it spilled and got lost.
Yeah, I certainly get that part, because spilled water is the first, or the stored water is the first to go over the spillway.
Right. Yeah. And what's interesting also is, you know, this Antelope Valley East Kern Water District, with part of the conversation that CCWA has been having with them is also the possibility of future water banking. You know, we had Semi-Tropic Water District come and give a presentation about a year and a half ago or so. But so we're going to be looking into that, and that'll also be part of the recommendations from our water supply management plan that we've just started, is to look at a few of the most promising water banking possibilities. So this Antelope Valley East Kern would be one of those that we'd be looking at. But
This is-
anyway.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that was going to be another one of the suggestions that came up with the spilled water, getting it out of San Luis Reservoir, is putting it in banking where we can get it when we need it.
Right. We have a few ideas of possible banking options that we'll be investigating, but Antelope Valley is one of them.
Okay. Just looking at Semi-Tropic and some of the others over also.
Well, Semi-Tropic, the thing that's not very favorable about their program is that the longer you have the water in storage in their bank,
It's more
the
expensive.
more expensive it
Yeah.
is to get the water out. So if you actually store the water for more than 2 or 3 years, which is kind of what you'd probably want to do, you know, because you have this cycle of a few wet years and then a few dry years, and you know, that could be 8 to 10 year sort of cycle. So you might want to have the water banked for, you know, as many as 5 to 10 years. But the cost becomes prohibitive
Yeah.
to get the water out if you store it that long. So, but there are a couple other options we'd be looking at south of the delta, where we could, you know, on the wet years when we get the water, are able to bring it down, and we have more than what we need, we can bank it again south of the delta, and so we can get it out
Yeah.
during the dry years. But
Okay, thank you.
I'm real curious about well 23. We don't know if it has good quality water yet or not. We don't know if there's a smell to it like well 22 does.
our groundwater hydrologist, Rick Hoffman, did mention he did get a very
A
faint whiff of hydrogen sulfide. But yeah, the pump testing will be completed this week. They'll take samples. Unfortunately, all the labs, because of the chromium-6 regulations, all the labs are really swamped. And it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get the results from the labs. But we're hopeful that it'll be good.
Do we have any idea what the gallons per minute are?
Not yet. They actually were doing what's called the step drawdown pump test today, and tomorrow and Wednesday they'll be doing a constant discharge test. So we really don't know till after they finish that constant discharge test.
So where's all that water going?
Right now, it's being dumped on the open fields east of the Sunnyfields Park. Yeah. So.
On Richard Pollard's property?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Zimmerman?
Yeah, I think we need to redirect our focus, rather than thinking about water supplementation purchase from neighboring cities. We need to start looking at real water independence, and we have money upwards of $1 million or so, and until we come through with something successful, that money's not doing anything. We're actually losing a lot of money on that money. And to continue on the road of constantly looking for supplementing our water, we're not going to get anywhere. The more we purchase water, that money that we're using for that can be going to finish these well 23, well 22, service the water, treat the water, whatever it is we have to do. There's no reason to hemorrhage money on purchase when we have these projects sitting idle. And 3 to 5 years out, let's have it done by the end of the year. I mean, it's there. We just need to put together a real contract on the treatment for the water on that area. But I think we get caught up in the easy fix, and that is to just buy the water from the neighbor. And I'd like to see us actually achieve our goal and make the sacrifice, bite the bullet, spend the money, and do it. That's all.
Thank you for that. I just had a question about the exchange water with Dudley Ridge and Palmdale. If they miss their timeline, would they be required to provide us funds to purchase the amount of water we loan to them?
I don't believe so. I don't know the details of the agreements off the top of my head, but yeah, like I said, I don't believe they contained any provisions, any kind of penalties or anything.
So if it's gone, it's gone?
Well, it's not gone. It's just that, or maybe I'm misunderstanding your question.
Well,
The water's not gone. It's just that if they're not able to pay us back within the time frame,
Right.
then that time frame just gets extended until such time that they are able to pay us back. So basically, the first good wet year we have, we're going to be calling that water, to have it returned.
I was just wondering if, because we have to buy water because we loaned them or we exchanged water, that maybe they would like to fund us with the monies to buy the water that we exchanged.
Well, yeah, maybe I wasn't clear. We didn't loan them this water.
Well,
Basically, we would have lost the water if we didn't have a place to store it in a groundwater basin. And so these are water districts that are located along the State Water Project or have facilities connected to the State Water Project where we could move the water out of San Luis Reservoir and store it in the ground in their groundwater basin instead of having the water spill over the reservoir of San Luis Reservoir and get lost.
I understand that.
Yeah. So I was just going to mention, I mean, I hate to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but it's kind of a minor miracle to have accomplished getting 5 wells constructed when all the well drillers are booked for 24 months out, most of them, 18 to 24 months. And the permitting is extensive, and we're a city of just 5,400. We have very limited staff resources. We're hiring consultants as fast as we can. We have purchasing policies and things that we have to follow. And so the purchase of the supplemental water is just a stopgap measure. And I do agree that, it'd be great if we could spend all that money on getting wells into service, but that's what we're trying to do as fast as we can. And really, these wells should have been constructed many, many years ago, and the staff is, basically breaking our backs and working really hard to get these wells constructed and get some of them in service. So the supplemental water purchases, we're stuck. I mean, it takes multiple years to get wells constructed and online and permitted and all that. And so, had this been done 15 years ago, we'd have these wells and we'd have all the, the
I was
water we
wondering
need.
what kind of connections you had to get those drillers.
Well,
Because
we got creative, and we did include an incentive bonus in there for the contractor.
Good shot.
And so,
I would just like to make a comment on, piggyback on his. I think this council should be commended for saying do it and providing the funds to do it.
Yeah.
Because the councils before just pushed it aside, thought, hey, we're always going to have enough water, and their ideas were not based in reality. We live in a desert, and water is not always plentiful. So I commend this council, with the exclusion of Neil. He wasn't
Nothing
here
personal.
then. Nothing personal. But for, moving ahead to find other sources of water within our area. I think it's great, and I commend your staff and you, Matt, for taking the bull by the horns and just doing it. Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Skip?
The one question I have is the Palmdale owes us, 205 acre feet,
102.
102 acre feet. And they are in the same basin as the Antelope, Kern. What's preventing them from buying 500, they're 102 acre feet at $500 an acre foot, and then giving us our water back?
Well, there's nothing preventing them from doing that, but there's nothing requiring them to do that in the exchange agreement that was set up. And again, the city staff didn't set that up. That was done by CCWA.
Yeah.
And, they under a very short time frame tried to get the best deal that they could. So
It's important for everybody to understand that Solvang is basically subcontracts with ID1. Solvang doesn't have a direct relationship with CCWA. We're not part of CCWA, and we don't have the authority to negotiate
With CCWA.
or for
C.
CCWA. Basically, they negotiate the terms of the deal. We have to pass all of our input through ID1. So it gets filtered that way. So we're not at that table.
Right.
Hans?
Yeah, I just want to echo a comment that Councilmember Jameson made about Matt, you personally and your staff. I feel there's just been a Herculean job done to pull this off in this short amount of time. You know, just looking at some of the other projects that we've been messing with for years, and to think that we've got 5 holes poked in a matter of months, it's remarkable. So, thank you.
And I have to agree with that. Exactly. It's not going unrecognized, believe me. Is there any other comments to the staff? With that, I have no speaker slip. Does anybody in the audience wish to make a comment on this particular item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for recommendation, which is to receive the water supply update and provide staff with direction on the supplemental water purchase program or other water matters. Is there anything we wish to present or ask the staff? Seeing none, we receive the message. Thank you.
Stay on track.
Item number 6, Mrs. Rio.
Regular agenda item number 6, resolution of the City Council of the City of Solvang declaring its intention to establish the San Ynez Valley Tourism Business Improvement District and fixing the time and place of a public meeting and a public hearing thereon and giving notice thereof.
Okay. And at this point here, I have to recuse myself because I am involved in a hotel lodging establishment, and I cannot be a part of this discussion. So I am going to call it an evening. Ladies and gentlemen, have a pleasant evening, and I will see everybody else on the City Council next meeting.
Thank you, Ed.
Come back for the SB CAG report.
I'll watch it on TV.
Mr. Vidra.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, you have a staff report here with 4 items for your consideration. One is to adopt the resolution of intention, to adopt the resolution requesting consent, and to set a public meeting and also a public hearing regarding the renewal of the T-bid. In 2010, the City of Solvang established a tourist business improvement district in accordance with state law for the purposes of promoting tourism. The San Ynez Valley Tourism Business Improvement District, which I'll now say T-bid to shorten, has a 5-year term and is assessing a $2 per room night for all lodging rooms in Solvang, Buellton, and a portion of unincorporated Santa Barbara County. Just hold on a minute here. I'm trying to go paperless. I gotta scan down here.
Paper is so
Hey,
much
Mr. Apple. All right. Okay. So, a T-bid utilizes the efficiencies of private sector operations in the market-based promotion of tourism districts. They allow lodging and tourism-related owners, business owners, to organize their efforts to increase tourism. Hold on a second. Now I've got an issue with my computer. Yeah, I'm going back to paper next meeting. The existing T-bid includes all hotels, motels, and inns available for public occupancy within the boundaries as described. The original boundary has 34 lodging businesses from Los Alamos to San Ynez. The San Ynez Valley Hotel Association, which is now doing business as Visit the San Ynez Valley, is requesting to renew the T-bid for a period of 10 years. The assessment would increase to $250 per lodging night, with a potential increases to $3 in the year 2017, to $3.50 in the year 2019, and up to $4 in the year 2022.
Also, vacation rentals have been added to the list of assessed properties, which now includes a total of 125 properties due to those vacation rentals. They count as one room night for the assessment, the vacation rental does. The 125 properties make up a total of about 1,591 assessed rooms. And just for reference purposes, in Solvang, there are 749 rooms, which is 47.1% of the total. Buellton has 585 rooms, or 36.8, and the unincorporated county with vacation rentals is 257 rooms for 16.2% of the total. Petitions were received by 44 of the 125 properties. Now that seems like a small number, but it actually is 78.5% of the assessed rooms that would be a part of the new assessment. In accordance with the state law, to renew a T-bid, the city must first adopt the resolution of intent, which I talked to earlier. That resolution that's attached would serve that purpose. It specifies the components of the T-bid renewal and sets the dates of the time and place for a public meeting to renew it. And that would be March 9th if it's approved tonight, and also for a public hearing, which would be March 23rd. At the conclusion of the public hearing, if over 50% of the affected businesses have protested, so it works similar to a Prop 218. If you have a negative vote, then you would not be able to extend the assessment. So because the T-bid encompasses areas outside of the city of Solvang, it is required to get consent from the city of Buellton and the unincorporated county areas so that we can do that. You have a resolution that serves that purpose. It's requesting that Buellton and the county allow us to assess this within their jurisdictions. Now, they would collect it and remit it to the San Ynez Valley Hotel Association. What we do currently with the T-bid is all collections are sent to the city of Solvang, and then quarterly we issue checks to the Hotel Association. With the renewal language, it would be modified such that they would remit monthly directly to the Hotel Association. So some of the work that the city's been doing would be reduced. We would just be doing our own assessment to that. That's the major changes of the renewal. You have a management district plan which is attached to your staff report, and that's the plan that they have to use for their next 10-year plan. And it talks about all the aspects of it. It has the state law requirements that are in that. And then you also have attached is a list of all the 125 properties, and on the right-hand column, if there's an X, those are the ones that submitted a petition, which would be that 78% that I talked about earlier. We do have the consultant and Shelby Sim with San Ynez Valley Hotel Association to come and speak. They have a little presentation to give on their request for this T-bid renewal, but that's the basic premise of what we're doing as the entity that would be in charge of the T-bid. So I'm going to ask them to come up as I put their PowerPoint on.
Is there any questions of the manager's report? Because I do have one. The collection is going to be done by each of the entities, Buellton, the county, and us.
Yes.
Does that mean if a property doesn't pay the T-bid like it's required to, do we have to go after them as a?
I believe the wording is he'll make a good faith effort to collect, similar to what we would do now. I mean, we have penalties in place for our TRT also for those that don't pay, and it's a similar penalty structure for this T-bid collection.
Is that extra cost that go over and above the 2% that's going to be allocated for processing?
I guess that'd be an unknown. It depends on how many people wouldn't pay it. That would be I guess the attorney could address what a reasonable effort would be.
Well, there's nothing in the law nor any of the operating agreements at this point that would either require the city of Solvang to expend funds to go after unpaid T-bid, or in the case that you did, require that the T-bid entity reimburse any of your legal costs if you incurred any.
Wasn't there some language buried deep in here somewhere on where the collecting agency could get some or part of the penalties for
yeah, it's
for
listed that
purposes?
we can use those to offset our cost.
Right, that's the
Yes.
penalties itself, not
And
the
that's in the
T-bid
current
amount.
that's in the current T-bid also.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other
I
questions?
have another question.
Yeah.
I have a question. And Brad, I apologize. I didn't make it by the office. I would have asked this earlier.
Okay.
But just a quick question. Why do we need a government body to enforce this?
State law requires that it be done by an incorporated city or county. So the San Ynez, or the Visit the San Ynez Valley is not what would be the term, right, a legal entity that's capable of taxing. So the city or City of Solvang, City of Buellton, or the county has to take the lead on it.
But it does give rise to the fundamental policy question, which is there's nothing that forbids people who own hotels and motels from getting together and voluntarily cooperating with each other to purchase advertising. What the T-bid process does is, if they follow the process and there's no protest vote, it does include in the duty to make the payments people who weren't necessarily going to volunteer to be part of that program. That's the fundamental policy question that you address, and which I'm sure that the people here representing the basically the applicants for the T-bid will address themselves.
Right. Is there added liability to the city?
Not really, no.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Brad.
Okay, so we're going to ask, Shelby, are you taking the lead on this? I'll run your PowerPoint for you from this
Thank
side.
you very much. Thank you. I'd like to first thank Matt for the just exhilarating report on the water. It was fantastic. Thank you. And again, thank you for your hard work. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening as Visit SYV's intent to renew the T-bid for 10 years. I want to start by thanking the council for your support over these 5 years and for being our administrative city. It is a pleasure to work with your staff and primarily your city manager, Brad Vitro. I would also like to welcome Neil Zimmerman to the council. Thank you to all those who have taken their time out and are still here tonight. I really appreciate your support. I love having my office in Solvang and next to the Solvang CVB. Tracy is a great partner, and we speak and strategize almost daily. I'm proud to stand before you today with 78.5% of our jurisdiction supporting us, 27% over the required 51%. And here in Solvang, we have 86% of the hotel rooms in favor of the 10-year renewal and 50-cent increase. The reason for the 10 years is so that we can stay focused on the task of marketing Solvang, Buellton, San Ynez, Ballard, Los Olivos, and Los Alamos, as opposed to spending half a year in the renewal process as we're doing now and spending over another $30,000 approximately in 4 or 5 short years. And who knows how much the cost will be at that time. The reason for the increase and the option of others, if economic and or political climate allow, is so that we can implement programs to elevate the customer experience in the San Ynez Valley, to expand our marketing reach to other states and other countries, as well as to compete with our neighbors in Santa Barbara and Goleta, which now has a city-sponsored CVB, and Paso Robles. We have a short PowerPoint presentation to share. I will start, and Cheryl Cumming of Civitas will finish. We will then be happy to answer any questions you may have. So with that, I have, sorry I didn't do this before, but I have copies for the council of the presentation. And Brad, if you would please go forward. So this again just reiterates what I had said before in a graphic, that out of the 591 rooms, we have 1249 in support. Go ahead, Brad. One of the council members had asked to see what, to ask about our generosity as a organization. And over the 5 years, we have supplied Solvang itself with over $126,000, almost $127,000. So besides marketing the valley and partnering with the Solvang CVB to promote Solvang in the 5 other towns, we're also giving monies directly to Solvang to promote itself and its events. Thank you, Brad. And then this is the additional amounts that we've given to across the valley. You'll notice that the Visitors Association received $64,000 from us over the years, and that was before we merged. So now that is taken in-house, the events they did. This was also requested by council, and at first look, it's like, what is going on? I'd just like to quickly explain that the marketing in 2013, as you can see, almost 414,000, and now in 2014 we did 290,000, and the reason for that is we created a website and a member platform for our members to go in. So the website itself is a marketing tool. I don't know if you've had a chance to get out to visit www.visitsyv.com, but it's amazing, and it's our storefront to the world of the valley. So we would consider the contract services you see there to add those up to make up for the marketing. Also, we're becoming more sophisticated. We aren't just, in fact, as Brenda said before, we aren't just throwing the spaghetti against the wall to see if it sticks. Now we're much more sophisticated in where we're targeting our marketing. We're not just throwing it at everything. Personnel costs went up because we hired the amazing Danielle Lawton, and she's been a great support in addition to the organization. As you'll notice, the special projects and promotions was down a lot this year. Again, that's because we had, primarily because we have the Visitors Association in-house, so we're not giving out those grants anymore. And I think those are the big differences between the years. Go ahead, Brad. Thank you.
Shelby?
Yes.
Right here I notice education.
Yes.
In 2014 is $928.
Yes.
In 2013 is $23,000. When the T-bid was first formed, it was supposed to be 5%.
Correct.
Of the revenues were going to be used for education.
Yes.
In the last 2 years, it doesn't look like it's garnered anywhere near that amount.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Mayor. I know that originally the organization had offered to supply scholarships for the local school and the local college. The name escapes me at the moment, but nobody nobody has been taking us up for those scholarships, and so as I understand it, we are now going to go directly to the high schools to find students that are going into tourism, going into hospitality, and offering scholarships that way. So our 2015 unfinished budget will be jacked back up.
As I recalled, when it was the first way I understood it is majority of those funds were going to go to hospitality personnel.
Correct.
To educate them in the ways and goings of the valley and to keep them updated as to goings on so they can relay that to their clients, and also to train them in alcohol and serving and those sorts of things. Is any of that included in this?
Absolutely. I know that we have attempted we've held those classes and nobody has shown up. So it's a matter of, do you keep spending money at it if people aren't coming? So we're reevaluating that. And again, once the 2015 budget is finalized, I can provide that to council to show you where we are spending that money and how education is coming up to where it should be. This is just the next two slides are just to show the TOTs going up, that we're filling the hotel rooms, that the hoteliers are able to raise their prices and bring in more money. Go ahead, Brad. Thank you. And this one's a little harder to read at first glance. So I've got this at a Visit California forecast last week. You see the year and the year over year, the occupied rooms in the North County, and I'm sorry, this also includes Santa Maria, but the occupied rooms have gone up year after year, as well as the amount brought in and the change of percentages. And with that, I'd like to introduce Cheryl Cumming of Civitas. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelby. Good evening. I'm Cheryl Cumming. I'm the Central Coast Project Manager for Civitas. We're helping Shelby renew his district, and we actually originally helped form the district as well. Briefly about Civitas, we are the nation's leading special district consultant. Our founder, John Lambeth, actually helped write the 1994 law, which this T-bid is formed under. And also we've consulted on 70 of the 86 T-bids in California. The district benefits include that the funds cannot be diverted to other government programs. The districts are customized to fit the needs of the destination and allows for a wide range of services. They're designated, created, and governed by those who pay the assessment, specifically the lodging properties in Santa Ynez Valley, and they provide a stable funding source for tourism promotion. A quick summary of the 1994 law. It is a 50% plus one petition process. As you know, the 5-year initial creation of the term for the T-bid, and then they're requesting the 10-year renewal. There is an annual report required. Payers can disestablish by petition on the annual anniversary of the formation and renewal of the district, and the city can disestablish if there is malfeasance or misappropriations of funds.
Let me ask you a question on that one.
Yes, Mayor
The
Richardson.
payers can be disestablished by petition. Is that all the payers that are in it by 50% could deestablish the whole T-bid, or just pull themselves out of the?
They would deestablish, so 50 plus 1% of those payers, if they, through the petition process, protested the ongoing establishment of the T-bid, it would be disbanded.
And that's on an annual basis?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the steps to the T-bid formation, I want to go into a little detail here so the council understands their role. As we mentioned, you do have the draft management district plan. Shelby's been successful with 78.5 for the petition drive. Let me explain a little bit further about the resolution of intention. To formally initiate the process, the council must adopt a resolution of intention, or ROI. The resolution can only be adopted if petitions received from the owners that pay more than 50% of the assessment, which that has been received. The ROI can be on the regular or consent agenda. The consent resolutions, at the time the ROI is adopted, hopefully that will be this evening, the council will also be asked to adopt a resolution request consent from the other jurisdictions proposed included in the district. That includes the County of Santa Barbara for the unincorporated areas and the City of Buellton. Currently, these hearings in the jurisdictions are set for February 10th for the county and February 12th for Buellton. Once the ROI is adopted, a notice must be mailed by the lead jurisdiction, which is your city, to all affected businesses listed in the management district plan. The deadline will vary depending on the date of the final hearing, but it must be mailed at least 45 days prior to the final hearing. The notice describes the district and informs business owners of their right to submit a written protest to the city clerk. Currently, the notice is set to be mailed on February 3rd. A public hearing must be held at least 10 days after the notice is mailed. A public meeting is simply an item on the council agenda, usually in public hearings portion of the council meeting. Mayor Richardson would open the meeting, calls for comments, and closes the meeting. Keep in mind that the council does not need to take any action, and the purpose is only to listen to public testimony. Currently, this public meeting is scheduled for March 9th. The final hearing is the final opportunity for public comment. If held, it is held at the city council meeting, and it must be at least 45 days after the notice was mailed. The mayor opens the meeting, asks for comments, asks if there's any protest to be turned in, and closes the hearing. The clerk should have tabulated the protests received prior to the hearing and be ready to add any received at the hearing. As long as the written protests from the owners of the affected businesses do not represent more than 50% of the businesses based on their contribution to the assessment fund, the council can then adopt the resolution forming the district. Currently, the final hearing is scheduled for March 23rd, and the renewed district is scheduled to commence on July 1st, 2015. As a quick review, the district parameters for the Santa Ynez Valley Tourism BID are the cities of Solvang and Buellton and portions of the unincorporated area of Santa Barbara County. The payers are all lodging businesses, as mentioned prior, hotels, motels, B&Bs, vacation rentals, and RV parks. The assessment rate is $2.50. The projected annual budget currently is $885,000. The proposed term is 10 years, and the Owners Association would be Visit Santa Ynez Valley. We did discuss, Brad did mention the budget impact. The city will receive a fee of 2% of the assessment collections to cover administrative and collection costs. And this evening, the requested action is to adopt the resolution of intention, to adopt the resolution requesting consent, to approve the public hearing on March 9th, the public meeting on March 9th, and the public hearing on March 23rd.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the presentation?
No? Thank
Seeing
you.
none? Shelby, anything else?
No? Think we have
Any other questions? With that, we'll go to the public for comment. Hey, Brad, hot coffee works for that. I got the same problem. Cold doesn't work, hot does. Jim Colvin is first. Followed by Kathy Breland.
Mayor Richardson, council members, my name is Jim Colvin. I've been in the San Ynez Valley for 32 years. I am presently the general manager of Hotel Cork, representing the Shumash organization. We have 193 rooms in Solvang that are part of that district. I'm also here as a representative of Visit the San Ynez Valley. I've been on the board for 2 years. I'll give you a little brief history to kind of take you back on the funding process. 20 plus years ago, I was on the Solvang Conference and Visitors Bureau board, and we struggled for years on what we were going to do with what money that was given to us and try to promote. And we felt like we were so behind the times, and we were so trying to fight forward with these other communities. At that time, 20 plus years ago, Catalina Island's budget was $1.1 million to promote tourism on that little portion of that island, and we struggled with the money that we were getting at that time was $200,000 to $300,000. And so, as the years went on and we struggled, we ended up forming the San Ynez, the SYVVVA, which I ended up being a member of that, and a bunch of gentlemen came together and became that board, and they had the vision of saying, hey, these bid districts are starting to form in the state of California. They're very successful, and we have a vision. And so we had leadership at that time. We had Bill Phelps on board. We had Doug Ziegler. We had Mike Hendricks. We all got together and we said, you know what, if they can do it, we can do it. And so that vision became a reality in the years to come. And I'm now proud to be on the board that I am right now for the Visit the San Ynez Valley. It's extremely beneficial. I can honestly tell you in the last 2 years, you can see the funds that we have, that we are taxing the visitors that are coming to the San Ynez Valley. It is truly making a huge difference in, not only competing with all these other tourist industries and cities, but I think if you went per capita, we're probably, right up there with some of the tops on per capita of leading the way. And so the funds that we receive, it is crucial and it's really important. And I'm just asking you, Jim Richardson, Mayor of Solvang, along with the City Council, that you give us your undivided, unified seal of approval today on the renewal that we have before you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. Kathy Vreeland. Followed by Linda Johansson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you. Here on behalf, my name is Kathy Vreeland, with the Executive Director with the Buellton Visitors Bureau. And of course, we are in support of this T-bid, and we hope that the council does follow along and support us as well. Tourism is a huge part of our valley. It's the leisure market that we reach out to. It's what provides jobs. It's what brings income to our residents and our community and makes it a great place to live and work. With that, we are all unique destinations. However, the valley as a whole is a major destination, and our competitors might be Paso, Slow, Pismo, Temecula. They have a lot of money to work with, and it takes all of us working together in support of one another to pool our funds and to work together to really get us on the map as a destination. People are going to come here and enjoy all aspects of what we have. We all offer something very unique, and they're not going to come and stay in just one community. They're going to experience the valley as a whole and visit all of us, and that's our goal. We want them to come back and experience the valley, but also stay more nights or bring their friends the next time they plan to come and realize, wow, I didn't realize there was all of this to do here. And that's what we get to show them and share with them, the visitors that come here. So we are in support of this. We hope you are too. Thank you for your time and all these years of your support, and I hope we can continue to work together as a valley. Thank you.
Linda Johansson, followed by Sue Molden. Close.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members and staff. I'm Linda Johansson, and I represent 5 generations of my family that have made Solvang and the San Ynez Valley their home. I also am a very proud board member of Visit the San Ynez Valley and have been since its inception. In the interest of time and to keep me on track, because you know how I get when I get passionate, I will read along with my notes because you know how I can tend to wander in my passionate moments. My family business has been hotels and tourism, and I've been very active in this field for over 40 years in one way or another. I understand how it works, and I have worked countless hours with so many other people in this room to make sure that Solvang and the San Ynez Valley succeeds and is known for the wonderful destination that it is. I take great pride in my family name, Nielsen, and names like Paskey, Rasmussen, Peterson, Condit, Mathieson, and a host of other leaders who have paved the way for Solvang. And I would never disrespect their efforts, and never in a million years would I support or make a decision that would not be beneficial to Solvang or the San Ynez Valley, my friends, my neighbors, or my colleagues. That would not happen. Solvang is branded. There is absolutely no question about that. We are known throughout the world as the Danish capital of America. We are now also recognized for the wines produced in our area. The wine industry has given us the golden opportunity to brand the San Ynez Valley as well. We shouldn't be intimidated by that. That's a compliment to the branding of Solvang. You have 2 areas advertising our wonderful, beloved city. We need to embrace that. We should be proud of that. The San Ynez Valley is producing world-class wines. It's just not an ordinary glass of wine, Mr. Mayor. It is world-class wines. We are winning awards at world competitions. These are our vineyards. This is the San Ynez Valley that these vineyards are in. It's not Santa Barbara wine country, as Santa Barbara has been advertising for 10 years because of Sideways. And there is nothing that makes me more furious than to sit at a convention that I've paid to go to in New Orleans or wherever it might be, representing Solvang, and to sit next to Santa Barbara as they're advertising their wine country. Their wine country is our vineyards here in the San Ynez Valley, and it's high time that we embrace that and get a hold of that marketing opportunity. We don't want to be afraid to move forward with the renewal of the T-bid. If we are to compete with Santa Barbara, Pismo, Paso Robles, who are our main competitors, we have to have lots of money. They have budgets that are triple that our budgets are, quadruple of our budgets. While I appreciate so much the money that you give to the CVB, that's really paltry in the amounts of money that's being advertised for other cities. So to compete with these other areas, we must have this T-bid money. We must have this additional money to move forward with plans for marketing the San Ynez Valley. I represent 6% of the 86% vote of the Solvang Hotel in support of the T-bid renewal with my ownership in the King Frederick. We also voted yes for P. Soup Anderson too, just so you'd like to know that. Our 10-year plan is effective, it's efficient, and it makes more sense to do it on a 10-year plan than to have to go through this process again in 5 years and take, by that time, it may be 8 months of our time, and heaven only knows if the $30,000 budget would be that or not more. So it makes more sense to do it at the 10-year plan. We do have controls in place with how the members could vote if that's not what they choose. So I feel like this is a protected vision. It's a protected plan. The Visit the San Ynez Valley has strong alliances now with the CVB, the Buellton Chamber, the Vintners Association, the Solvang Chamber, the San Ynez Chamber, Lobo Polo, as well as the Shumash organization. When I got involved in this some 40 years ago, none of those people would even talk to one another. That has all been established within the last 10 to 12 years. It's wonderful. We are working as a valley. We are all helping each other and working together, and we can get more done by working together. I want to personally thank the City Council and the Mayor Richardson for their wisdom in starting the First Alliance. That was wonderful, where we worked with DVA to do our marketing. That was a great beginning and a great first step. I feel like we need to keep moving forward. We need to keep this train on this perfect track. The renewal of the T-bid will ensure additional funding to market the San Ynez Valley, which includes our beloved Solvang. There's never a question, Jim, that Solvang isn't the best place here. There's not a question about it. And so you need to trust those who have put so much time and effort on the Visit the San Ynez Valley board, and trust them in knowing that we know what we're doing here to market our communities. I think that I want to say...
To Linda, to be fair, the red light's on.
Oh, does it? Okay. Okay.
It's been on for about a minute or so.
Oh,
But
I'm on track. I'm on track,
I know you. I love your presentations. That's
I'm
great.
on track, too.
You make great arguments.
Okay, I will just say one additional thing then. I really, you need to support this. There's not a question that you can't support it. We have to have this extra funding to advertise the San Ynez Valley. If we don't, we will lose. Solvang will lose. So that I will end with that.
Thank you, Linda.
And hope that you, in your infinite wisdom, will do the right thing.
Thank you. Sue? Followed by Bob Field.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, here's the problem with going third. They've said everything almost that I wanted to say, but I do have a few things to add. We do hope that you support the T-bid as the Chamber of Commerce would like you to. We have a lot of hotels in our chamber, and we also have many other businesses. And with the money that they spend to advertise all of us, since we don't do that ourselves, sorry, I've got the same thing he does, you know, our businesses will thrive. Without that, I do have friends in other chambers, other executives that have lost their T-bids, and it is not a pretty sight. So I did want to address one thing that came up about us all working together, so I'm going to go there for a little bit. In the Valley, we have 3 chamber executives. We have 5 executives working on tourism, and we definitely overlap with our membership, our events, our installations, our States of the Cities, and the Vandenbergs, and our Santa Barbara events, and our nonprofits. So we all have a lot to deal with. We don't get lonely because we see each other everywhere. Here's the thing, though. We work together. We advertise each other. We participate in each other's events. We lobby for each other. We share ideas with each other. We celebrate each other's town's differences. And we come together for one common cause, bringing people to our community to experience our way of life, our wonderful hotels, our excellent restaurants, to taste at some of the best wine tasting rooms in the, world, right? And to come to our events and to shop in our local stores, and ultimately fund our cities and our county. We heads of these organizations answer to our memberships, our boards of directors, our city councils, and we do all of that because we want what is best for our community, because we don't just work here, we all live here. We know that our efforts, while they may be pointed towards our individual towns, will benefit everyone. So yes, there are a lot of different guides, so I did want to mention that. Some are pointed towards visitors, some towards businesses and folks wanting to relocate in our wonderful valley, and all showcasing a way of life that is the reason why most of us live here. As a business owner myself, yes, I'm a little bummed that I have so many different choices to advertise and I have less money to commit to doing that, but we will deal with that over time. But I think it's a great kind of problem to have, considering that the alternative would be having a community that we don't need to advertise because nobody really wants to visit here. When I travel, I gather all kinds of information, whether it's all these different guides or anything. And when I'm looking, I want to find a place where I can go and there's a whole lot to do around it, right? I think most of us do. So my view is that if I'm coming to Solvang, and I would probably stay in Solvang or Buellton, which is probably where I'd stay, and all of these other towns around Solvang have so much to do, I would definitely plan to stay here longer and experience what we have rather than staying in that other little big city across the hill, which means a lot to our businesses. We need them to stay. I'll just close by saying that I actually like this particular magazine. Solvang had the most pages dedicated to it, 12, and that's not counting the ads and all the other places that they talked about it. Of the valley maps, we were in the center of all of them. Could be because that's where we're located, but I'd like to think otherwise. And we had one full page map dedicated to Solvang, so we were definitely well represented. I want to commend Shelby's and Tracy's effort. They do a great job. They keep all of our businesses in business here by bringing people to us. It is our jobs once they get here to have them actually spend their money. But whatever our views, I'm really excited that all of us are so passionate about Solvang and the San Ynez Valley. And it's that enthusiasm that I believe will keep people visiting here. And I think that's great for all of us. So the Solvang Chamber of Commerce would like you to support the TBID. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Bob Field?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council, and Mr. Zimmerman. Nice to sort of meet you. Bob Field, I live in San Ynez, and I don't often come here because, as I've said before, I respect your sovereignty. But tonight you're looking at taking action from this 2-square-mile city to throw a sphere of influence taxation power on, I don't know, how big is this new area? 300-400 square miles? All the way out Happy Canyon, up across Figueroa Mountain, out Foxen, 10 miles north of Los Alamos, halfway to Buellton. I appear to be the only voice here tonight to speak for that group. One question I think you should ask, you're being told what percent of I forget the word they're using, support they have for this. This is one room, one vote. This is not one person, one vote. There's, what was the number, 250 new people getting dragged into this thing in the unincorporated county. I think somebody should let you know before you decide to do that, how they feel about it. I think Mr. Hanley very nicely raised for you before the discussion started what the policy issue is, and that is that this district forces people who do not choose to join what is essentially an industry association to join and pay. Let me, before I make the rest of my comments, just introduce myself enough to make the comments. I'm as you can see, the only guy I think it's not honest to say I'm an older guy is to say this to Mitchell Richardson. I don't know, we're pushing it. This could be a contest. I've been around, I'm a lifelong conservative. I got a degree in business and marketing. I went into business for my entire career. I'm still an active investment. Usually when I'm in a room like this, I'm the only guy who can say I had capitalist on my business card. This is not about pro-business or not. I get marketing. I was a marketing guy. I get the enthusiasm for getting together, pooling resources for coordinated marketing programs. I suspect that if those of us met out on the street as citizens at a soccer game or over a beer, that most of us, if the talk drifted to politics, we would agree that we're overtaxed, that government's too big and it's getting into places it shouldn't be, that we need to get back to our constitutional principles. And those three reasons are why I think each one of you should vote no for this project. This is a tax, and you can call it an assessment, you can call it Joe. This is a tax. And when government uses its power to extract money from the public who is not otherwise willing to pay for the product, that's a tax. And if we're overtaxed, I think it's time for you guys to walk the walk on any conservative statement you've ever said before about we're overtaxed. Number two, regarding the unwarranted expansion of government, there is, in this old conservative's mind, no role for government to force private business people to join industry associations, to make them pay against their will, and to have discussions about what the enforcement and penalties are if they don't feel like joining the hotel association. I believe this is an outrageous expansion of government, and to the person who's familiar with who drafted this law, I think it's a terrible law. Regarding the constitutional principles, the 14th Amendment grants us all equal protection. This district calls itself a tourism business district, does not charge restaurants, does not charge shops, doesn't charge gas stations, doesn't make the tire shop pay for this, claims it benefits everybody in the tourism industry valley-wide, and only charges the lodging providers. That isn't anywhere near equal protection. 1 vote per room, 1 vote per dollar that is paid into this thing. I pay above average property tax. Do I get more votes? Where did that come from? So not only are we forcing people to join an industry association against their will, it's dominated by the big guys. 44 of the parties represent 80% of the votes. This is almost a monopoly. So I think you should all vote no on principle. Yes, the industry should get together and market itself. It's important for everybody. But this is a free country. We have free markets, and we should have free choice. And this badly violates all of those principles. I think the tax and spend folks who have brought you this proposal should go back to their offices and their private businesses and reinvent a marketing association that's attractive enough and effective enough that free people choose to join. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I have no other speaker slips. If anybody would like to come up, CJ?
Yes, I'll warn you in advance, I'm dangerous when I'm ill-prepared. Mr. Mayor, Councilmember C.J. Jackson, I do work for an entity that has been in the lodging business in this valley since 1946. We have a different product. I'm not so sure our product benefits, but my mind is open. You've been asked to endorse something which includes a public meeting. I would think it premature before you've had that public meeting to perhaps render a decision or an endorsement at this point. It could be wonderful. But picture if you arrived here today and you weren't from Solvang, but you were included in this particular proposal. The generous grants that were provided were essentially Solvang-centric. The report was directed and tailored to you, the City Council of Solvang. A consistent reminder that the City of Solvang is in the center of their publication and in the center of their market and in the center of their thinking. What would you think in Los Alamos? What would you think if your business didn't necessarily conform to the marketing strategies that were presented? I want you to understand, I'm going to be at that public meeting. I'm going to listen, I'm going to hear, and then I'll render a decision about whether or not I support the concept, because I haven't heard enough. I haven't heard enough, really, about what the results of the preceding item has done. What type of performance? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I haven't heard enough. It may be wonderful, and I may stand up at that public meeting and say go. But I think you need to hear more. Because when I looked at 44 of 125, I started to think, okay, did everybody get the memo? I don't know. From that being in the newspaper, it's what caught my attention to kind of come. So I would counsel that you give it the full amount of thought and solicit, because in this valley, we have 3 chambers of commerce. Well, that's very kind of Solvang and Valley of us. We have 7 school districts, 7 principals, and 7 superintendents. We do stuff like that here. That doesn't necessarily mean it's effective or efficient or provides the benefits that we think it does. We are also really big in this county on participative democracy and pluralistic decision-making, particularly on items of substance. So open the gates, hear from the others, make up your mind then. You might actually hear me cheering for it, or not. I just haven't heard enough to make the significant investment you have. You do have a transient occupancy tax, which you evaluated extending and expanding. And for those of us who are in that business, we don't necessarily go to our lodging customers and say, oh, you've got to pay an extra $250 to the city of Solvang, because we're collecting it, and you're collecting it from us. So I'm asking you to take your time, think carefully, ask probing questions, and look behind the curtain if there is one, or look at the expenditures that weren't Solvang-centric and make sure that the value they project is exactly what they say. And if you do, you'll probably see me cheering there, but I'm not ready now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CJ. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Mike?
Thank you, Mayor Richardson, Council. As you may be aware, I'm the president of the organization that we're talking about, president of the board. I'm also a hotel operator in the city of Bilton. A couple things that came up. Some of the comments made me wonder if people realize this has been in existence for 5 years. Last time we did this, we had about 68% of the people polled that said yes. This year we gained a lot, about 79. And just want to remind people that people haven't said no. It's unanswered. Some of these people just can't get hold of them. They're on vacation. They're on vacation rentals. They're not sure. And I'm excited that Mr. Jackson is willing to consider it. Last time they were one of the 2 people that came to the meeting, the public meeting, that affords the right of anybody to give their opinion on something that may be implemented in their area. They're one of 2 that said, we don't like this, okay? And I'm glad to say now he's open for discussion. I think the increase of people on the straw poll shows that the hoteliers, the people that are collecting it, as they collect your tax on your behalf, are saying, you know what, we like what we've seen, go ahead, keep doing it. We're fine with this. We understand what you guys are doing, and we're appreciative of it, and we need your assistance. We need your assistance to be competitive in this. I agree with Bob Fields, strangely enough, that a lot of things we are overtaxed on. But again, in Bilton, it's based on the taxes you pay into it. Very important. It's not based on your occupancy. It's not based on your room rate. It's based on if you're actually qualified. For example, in the presentation is left out that if you're tax exempt, you don't have to pay this. In the city of Bilton, if you go by actual taxes paid, it's 98.6% want this. I defy anybody to find anywhere where someone has a government program or a tax where 98.6% of people say, hey, we want to start charging this next week. What do you think? Oh, hell, yeah, sign me up. Doesn't happen. The law says 51%. We're well in excess of that. And I would venture to say that if we got a hold of every single person on that list, or they wanted to put their thing in writing, our number would be much higher than the 70 plus that we've delivered to you today. We welcome the public hearings, and we welcome the future discussions. I think the council, as instructed by Civitas, or reminded by Civitas and staff, you're not approving this. All you're saying is, yeah, let's hold a couple public meetings on it and see what people really think. In fact, let's go further. Let's send a notice to everybody who's going to be affected by this in writing. When taxes go up, do every single person get a notice? All the laws that changed this year, did everybody get a notice delivered to your house that says, hey, these laws have changed? No, you got to look it up. But in this instance, we actually send a note to every single person paying and say, here's your chance. Yes, no, maybe. Come to the meeting and find out. And if you don't like it, it'll go away. And if you like it, we want to hear from you because we want to make sure we're doing the right thing for our constituents. That's it. I'll be available for questions if you have them.
Thank you, Mike. For full disclosure, I had a private conversation with Mike today. I've had private conversation with Shelby, Tracy, and Linda, who are all members of those boards. And that's for public. I want you to be aware that I've been discussing this problem with them. Now, if there isn't any more public comment, then we'll bring it back to the council for discussion. Who would like to start?
First of all, I want to say I've had conversations with Tracy and Shelby, and I think I talked to you too, Linda, didn't I? Yeah.
And I've had conversations with Linda.
Since we're disclosing, I had conversations with Shelby and Tracy.
We've all been briefed. So is there any discussion on this, the recommendations? Do you have anything to say, Mr. Zimmerman?
One comment, one question. I think it'd be nice for the flexibility, or to have the flexibility for people to opt out if possible, if we could work something like that. Just a comment. And the question is, what we're voting on is to hold a public meeting, and that's all, to clarify? That's it?
That's correct.
Well, you're doing a resolution of intent, which says you're going to be moving forward with giving people the opportunity to have a public meeting and then to have the public hearing.
And also sending out the requests to the county and to the city of Buellton, so they can give their approval to have those areas in the district if it's formed. At the public hearing, which is the second step in that process, not the public meeting, that's when people who will be subject to it have a right to protest. If enough rooms protest, you don't have the authority to establish the district. In the absence of a protest, there's also no requirement that you establish the district. So in that sense, it's really absolutely true to say that tonight you're just voting on whether or not to have the hearings, because merely holding the hearings isn't going to require that the city council establish the district, even in the absence of a protest vote.
All right. Lance, questions?
Question? No, I have no questions. I have discussion, but.
Joni, discussions, questions? Do you?
Okay, so we're in the discussion portion also.
We are,
okay.
yes.
So what we're really doing is facilitating something that industry is asking for, and we're just being asked to take this first step of consenting to or to have a public meeting to discuss this some more, to get some more information out, to see if everybody's happy with it. We've watched it for the last 5 years. I don't see what the big deal is. I feel we just move on. We let this thing take its course. It's not our thing. We're not putting this is not our action, really. We're just facilitating what this industry wants or is asking for. That's my comments.
Joni?
I just would like to make a couple of comments, a couple of things that Shelby said about like the scholarships that you've been trying to do for the last 8 years, we've been trying to give scholarships to Fire Academy graduates. It's like pulling teeth. You really have to go up, if you're going to do it like at Hancock, you're going to have to go up and sell the project. And the best people to talk to are the people that handle the scholarship committee, and they will help you get the word out to the students up there and let them know what a valuable source of income this is for them. And it allows them possibly to go on to a 4-year school. So don't give up on that. Please, don't. It's easy to give up, but please continue. I'm a little concerned about special projects and promotions, how the numbers have gone down. Now, you're not going to do that anymore? Did I understand that?
No,
Okay,
not so. We are doing that, in fact, increasing it in 2015. I
Okay.
was just saying it had gone down because we had sucked up the Visitors Association. We had merged with that. So that money was
Okay.
no longer going out of house.
okay, because I want to commend your organization for doing that, because I heard a rumor that in the city of Santa Barbara, where they also have a T-bid, they don't give gifts out like that to organizations. Now, maybe they do now, but I've heard that they don't, that they keep all that money close just for them. And it's commendable that you share your proceeds with the community like that, because it just helps everybody. It helps the hotels, it helps the various nonprofit organizations that are gifted these funds, and please continue doing that. I know that it's very, 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 very much appreciated. So we're going to come to you some more from Special Olympics, because I think you've already done that.
I have committed, absolutely.
I know you
I'm looking for
have.
some pillows, too. Yeah.
Good, Linda, good. I hear what Mr. Fields says, and I'm probably as conservative or more than he is. But I also know that these people that own these businesses are asking for this source of funding. And granted, there's the person that I cannot believe you're only charging vacation rentals one room. I mean, come on, how many people usually are there? Not just a couple. There's usually a whole mob of people that come in and rent these vacation rentals. I think you're being overly generous to them by only charging them one room rate for their occupancy. Let them come to the meeting and speak. There's a hearing that's going to be held. Let them come and talk. Maybe they will convince us that this is not a worthwhile endeavor. They're not going to convince me. I think I commend you for bringing this on yourselves, that you want to do this and managing the money well. Thank you.
You've all heard my song and dance. And I was looking over these numbers, showing the amount of revenues you pulled from through the T-bid. You've totaled about $2,500,000 over 5 years. Of that, 1.4 million of that came from Solvang's economy. So you see why I'm concerned about the interest in the fairness of how Solvang is presented in the valley. And as you've heard me say before, not everybody can tell you where Anaheim is, but they can tell you where Disneyland is. Not everybody can tell you where Buena Park is, but they know where Knott's Berry Farm is. And not everybody can tell you where San Ynez Valley is, but they know where Solvang is. That's why I feel that we need to be represented along with or as well associated with the valley, rather than put on a bottom line with somebody else. Being the contribution, the amount of revenue that's been taken out of our city for that. You show that you put $126,000 back into the city out of 1.4 million. The total amount that went back into the valley is about 468,000 out of 2.5 million. So I'm concerned that, and believe me, I'm glad that there's a T-bid, and I can see the evidence of the goodness it has done. But in order to differentiate San Ynez Valley from Temecula, Paso Robles, Napa, they don't have anything except a name indicating that they sell and serve wine and have wineries. We don't have that name recognition as a wine designation, but we do have a recognition as a name or a brand in the valley, and I think it should be accentuated. So those are my comments, and as I explained before, I was offered that I would suggest that you add a tagline to your advertising, one that says, "Visit the Santa Ynez Valley, the home of Solvang, Buellton, Los Alamos, Los Olivos, Santa Ynez," and name all the towns, but highlight Solvang first. It's important to us because we do contribute such amount. Another thing I've had is pushback on the 10-year term. I haven't resolved that in my mind yet, but another pushback is the increased rates over the 10 years. Is that going to be a automatic rate increase, or is it going to be voted on at appropriate times?
Voted on at appropriate times, yeah. Every 3 years, the board would have an opportunity to discuss whether it's economically feasible, whether it's politically feasible, and vote on whether there would be an increase or not.
Okay, thank you. And those are my comments.
I'd like to make another comment on kind of referring to you.
Sure.
Your comments that you just made.
Go right ahead.
If this valley is a collection, and it's a wonderful collection that seems to mesh just like a family. You know, we see what the Elks do, or the Santa Ynez Rec, and these are people from Los Olivos and Buellton and Solvang and Santa Ynez and
Forget Ballard.
up in Oak Hills or Oak Trails and up in Los Alamos and so I see this as a family. These communities here. And just like any other family, there's the oldest and the youngest and the biggest and the smallest and the richest. But for the family to really work, everybody has to have their moment to shine. Solvang has to have its moment to shine. Buellton has to have its moment to shine. And that's something that you pass along, you know, for birthdays or however it works. Sure, Solvang started the tourist trend, and it was great here. Of course, we were the only game in town back in the '60s. You know, I remember pulling, you know, Danish days, 60,000 people on a weekend. You couldn't move. We've got competition now. We got serious competition, and we have to, if we want to keep our presence, we need, and I'm speaking for Solvang, we need to understand that we need the rest of our family to really make this work. To get the couple extra nights, and it's not. It takes nothing away from us. It actually makes us better. That's my comments.
Any other comments? Do we have time for a motion now?
I will make the motion that we, let's see, we're
There's four items of
adopt the
recommendation.
resolution of intent, adopt the resolution requesting the consent of the city of Buellton and Santa Barbara County.
And set
the public meetings and hearings.
So the motion is to accept the staff recommendation.
Yes.
I'll second
Just
it.
so we got it all out there, make sure that nothing slipped through.
Is there a second?
I seconded
It's
it.
been moved and seconded. Mrs. Rio, you call the roll, please.
Council members Deuce,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
No.
and Mayor Richardson.
Yes. That passed with a 3-1 and one abstention. Thank you all for your presentations. You can stay and hear the report of the committee reports, or you can be bored by it, or you can I hope it's brief. Okay, as far as committee reports are concerned, there's been two that I know of. It's SBCAG and the Air Pollution Control Board.
And
You all
we received your notices.
I'm sorry?
We received your notices.
That's good. I'm glad you received it, so I don't have to discuss that. Okay, cool. Then the Air Pollution Control District, I don't think you saw that yet. We adopted a resolution for the Air Pollution Control District manager to attach a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Conversion of Division of Oil, Gas, and Geothermal Resources and the California Air Resources Board, which really is changing the way that that the Air Pollution Control District is monitoring pollution. And the other is we received a presentation on the revised guidance manual for health risk assessments, which was an exciting thing to listen to. With that, I have no other comments. Does anybody else? And we stand adjourned.